Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi ine mandi ndafira kwela nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi ine mandi ndafira kwela hey wami wa mutima kukuleza wala na wasikiza ngale hey wami wa mutima kukuleza wala na wasikiza ngale Yena kumona minasanga mumano muningo kushamananga Hey wami Mwankalangale Ilanga fukuti munambaga kola Nambaga kulesi shudi kumutima Kwa kelu kile Ila kuyekalate Hey wami Hey wami Hey wami Yakufuyo jena mutima wami Hey wami Mwakata lubandi Amina kana nyanga kukuleja Nakufela tena mutima wami Wami Wasenda lupanji Amina kana nyanga kukuleja Mami wandi Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi Ine mandi Ndafira kwela Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi Ine mandi Ndafira kwela Imafuna kukamba Sase Saku mutima Tikakumana Jawabusha niwe mwanafumu Nabadosa tikakumana Nikandiwa kamba Inedosa ndana kumona mutima wanda chileno kanande Manifesto Imasola mukama Ngeshara kuipumpa Ine pea masocha That's right Numana takumana Maulesi Hey wami
Nje iwabe Nje
Mami wandi Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi Ine mandi Ndafira kwela Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi Ine mandi Ndafira kwela Yanda boa Fredo Yando wate Fredo for corner Fredo for corner Fredo for corner Let's get it. Kakane try uileze bro nasikia. Hey mwana kushimuna walalo. Hey mwana nikulesi kwa wakasha. Joso kauta. Nona kafa kutie. Happy nyalo. Hey wami. Nalisunga mashuine mu mutima wandi Ine mandi Ndafira kwela Nakufela tena mutima wandi Wandi Waseja lupanji Amina kana nyanga kukuleja Mwanta Given Msesa Anton Samuhan Dr. Robert Saklanda Commander John LOT Benzika Sepa The Promise Kabamba Pita Maskid Yokisinga Dada Yomefan Hey social branch la kanya kuleta big time. Yami mukwenzi wa kutala chinga utianga ntikwilo. Not the music we chunga. The Lion King. Ya ukasate. Hello Kagame Kenya. Chris Mulongi Sweat.
Hello. Good evening, Chuempala. Elias Munshya here, and I'm coming to you live from Calgary, Alberta, on TVBAKWETU. We have a few things to talk about today. It's been a very, very interesting week, in the sense that we had a period of national mourning in Zambia. We were mourning the passing of Rupiah Bwezani Banda, Zambia's fourth president. Today, he's been put to rest in Lusaka at the Embassy Park, at the little chunk of land near Cabinet Office, where he's now been interred, and he goes into history as one of Zambia's presidents, fourth president, Rupiah Bwezani Banda. And so we continue to pray that the Banda family is in peace and continue having the consolation that only God can give. Yesterday was a huge funeral at the showgrounds, and then today they had a much more intimate family affair together with a few invited guests at the Cathedral of the Holy Cross, and then at the graveyard, where we have received some tapes of the things that were played after the burial, and then they took the camera over to the two leaders of Zambia and asked them to say, hey, what do you, two leaders of Zambia? Anyway, someone is claiming to now be the father of the nation. Anyway, so they took him a mic and said, say something, and then he said something, and it has now blown out of proportion. But we'll come to that later. The first thing that I would like to deal with is the issue here regarding what is the best way to retrieve stolen property from the people who stole. Now, the first question that we always deal with is, how do you know if people actually did steal? Because that's a major thing. How do you know? Here is how I know. Number one, fire trucks. One fire truck was purchased at $1 million per piece. $1 million per piece. That was irregular. First of all, it makes no sense. Now, this does not require a lot of complicated study. $1 million per fire truck, particularly those kinds of fire trucks, it should tell you that the price was inflated and the difference was stolen. Common sense, okay? Common sense, number one. Number two, let's look at all the airports. They were built at very exorbitant. Even the money that they borrowed was not enough, so they had to borrow more money to finish Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Money was stolen. Let's look at the Ndola-Lusaka Road. The Ndola-Lusaka Road had been maintained several times. Several times. They were paying about $1 million per kilometer, and they did a very shoddy job. It was a very shoddy contractor work, and therefore the difference was stolen. Now, all this money is somewhere. Some people are holding on to it. They've hidden it. They've stashed it. They have buried it somewhere. And in fact, as evidence to the fact that some money was buried was the 65 million that the law enforcement found at one of the homes of the person who benefited from the loot. And now that 65 million is not in isolation. There is a lot of money that is lying around, a lot of property that has been purchased by these thieves, a lot of bank accounts and money that has been stashed aside. The presidential Gulf Stream, they paid about 3 times more than they needed to pay for it. And so the difference was stolen. KCM, it was liquidated. It was given to a personal friend of the president who then mismanaged it and stole from it. And so when I take all these examples, they tell me that money was stolen from the people of Zambia. I don't need very complicated math or very complicated science. That is just reality. Money was stolen from the people of Zambia. So now, what should we do about it? What should we do? That is the thing now. Of course, there is this idea of pushing everything onto the government to say that it's the government that has got to do this. But let me be very categorical here. The fight against corruption does not belong to the government. It actually belongs to the people of Zambia. That's what it is. And if the people of Zambia do not wake up to the idea that they are the custodians of the fight against corruption, we are going to lose it. It is as simple as that. Every institution in our democracy responds to the people's deepest needs, right? And so if the people of Zambia do not prioritize the fight against corruption, there is no politician who is going to prioritize the fight against corruption. So if the people of Zambia are willing to just ignore what happened, the rot that took place under the Patriotic Front, well and good. The government is not going to fight. Because each administration, actually, the extent to which an administration fights corruption is proportionate to the people's desire to try and fight it. If you, as the people of Zambia, do not want to fight it, then nobody's going to do it. If you begin giving indications that it's okay, it means then, no, you will not. It's not complicated. If you do not hold the Lungu administration accountable for theft, this administration is likely to repeat the same mistakes, what you're calling mistakes. They're likely to do it. Why can't they do it? If there is no accountability, first of all, basic accountability from the people, I'll go back to the governmental role, but basic expectation of accountability from the people of Zambia, then it is sending a message that even as far as this new administration is concerned, they can continue doing whatever was happening under the Patriotic Front, knowing that there will be no political repercussions from the people of Zambia. In other words, after they have lost power and somebody else is governing, the people of Zambia are going to look the other way and forget about it. That is why, for me, the reason why the fight against corruption is so personal, it is because it is responsible for whether our country is going to prosper or not. No matter how much money you make as a nation, no matter how much wealth you have, if that wealth is going to end up in the pockets of very few people, you cannot develop as a country. Never. You will not develop as a country. The reason is simple. It is because the wealth is being externalized and the wealth is being personalized to a few individuals. You can't prosper no matter how much money you are making. Therefore, it is incumbent upon you, ni mwebe ne bachalo, mwebe na Zambia. Ni mumwa mufiro kulando kobate, you are going to take zero tolerance against corruption. Before a government even adopts that, it is you to say zero tolerance towards corruption. Now, I do get this idea at your fiance Fimofine. Now, the grand scale corruption, Defimofine with little things that happen among people. The politically exposed persons have at their disposal much more access to public funds than a mere police person who is corrupt along the road or something like that. That's why everywhere, even as far as banks are concerned, when they identify you as a politically exposed person, they're supposed to do a higher level of due diligence. That is just common sense. These things are not the same because politically exposed persons can affect the destiny of the nation much more highly than any ordinary citizen. The reason why I know that there are several other people who deal with corruption in a general term and lies and stuff like that, quite all right. But for me, my goal is on this grand scale of corruption that has a direct impact on how the resources of the country are going to be distributed to the people of Zambia. But mweba umetabapatikisha ngechakutira mwebene mwebekala chalo tamulefu wayo okuluisha tamulefu wayo okulwa corruption ninshi nivyo fine. adakutira omuntu waiba elo after 6 months amishinga bata atiyo mukwaifirifyo bwino elo mwalabako nishinifyo fini but then nishkanshi tubaleke naba bene balipo awo mukwa it's open season nabakonkanyepo okwiba kainge bali abayibire mulandira ati yo chirifye. I believe in Zambia. I believe in the people of Zambia. Zambia matters. And the reason why we do what we do is because we believe that Zambia matters. And since Zambia matters, we believe that we can do better and we can be better as a country. And because we believe that Zambia can be better and can do better, we believe that corruption is the #1 enemy. Grand-scale corruption by politically exposed persons is the #1 enemy to the progress of our country. And the first custodians, it is we, the people of Zambia. We are the first custodians that have got to, first of all, agree that we are not going to tolerate it. Then the leaders are going to take the clue and fight it. So now, what has got to happen now? First of all, we must unite together as one people that we are not going to tolerate it. If we have that consensus as a people of Zambia that we are not going to tolerate corruption, then we can take the second step. Is there consensus here? And this is not because you people are PF or UPND or whatever party you belong to. The fight against corruption is not a partisan matter. It's not. The reason is, if PF did it, I can assure you that UPND can do, in fact, they can even do it 100 times better. Let me just tell you something. If you think that PF was corrupt, the UPND can. They can. First of all, they're even smart. They're 100 times smarter, so they can do it as well. So where then is the backdrop, the backstop? Where does the backstop? It stops with the people of Zambia. When you, as the people of Zambia, say that you're not going to tolerate it, then political parties are going to be careful. Do we have agreement on that? Or no? Or we are just saying it's just one of those weaknesses? It's not. Corruption is not just one of those weaknesses. Corruption affects it affects a nation. It affects the destiny of the nation. For every corrupt deal that has been done to enrich a few individuals, it means then that the road, Lusaka-Ndola Road, you have seen it for yourselves, my fellow citizens. Lusaka-Ndola Road. Today, Lusaka-Ndola Road is killing more people. Now, it's not, no. Misebo shiredi abantu. Imisebo. Babu lolupia, baiba. Elo baya kule imisebo shama dongo. Within a season or two, imisebo shakwate nkanki. Gashakwate nkanki imisebo. Umuntu alensha popala pene. Accident, afwa. That is the price of corruption. It means, as far as schools are concerned, abana b'amasukulu teti basambirire iyo pantu impiesha kuba nomba shibafuirishe kuya ku sukulu oniso omuntu umo aiba asenda. That is the price of corruption. That is how it affects you. How does it affect you? It affects you, for example, in Milenge, we are saying that we have a hospital, Milenge District Hospital. I walked through it. You can visibly see the fruit of corruption on that building. Mwakula. Before each building, no kupwata chirapwa. Chachuchuka. No integrity. You have borrowed money, mwamkukula hospital ku Milenge. Pantanshipare no kupenta mwapenta mwalemba pona Milenge District Hospital. And yet, within a few months of building a building, you've paid for it. It's It's running down. It's breaking. That is the price of corruption. What it means then is that the money that was supposed to build a strong building that would last years is no longer there. It has not built a building that is going to last for a very long time. The people of Zambia have paid the money. They've borrowed that money. But it has gone to the private pocket of one person. And because money has just gone to the hands of one person, how many mouths can one person feed? Very few. How many stomachs does one person have? Very few. How many roads, how many cars does he need? Very few. And so because of that, the money is not going into the economy, it's being privatized. That is the price of corruption. So we are going to look back, and then corruption also lies to you because you go to Milenge, you see a building and you think that then that development has come. But actually, development has been stolen from the people of Zambia. Things are overpriced, shoddy jobs, and everything else. That is the price of corruption. And so you are going to take far much longer to develop as a country because of all this. When we say that we are against corruption, this is what we mean. And I hope that all of you, our people, are going to say that you are not going to tolerate it. At least you're not going to tolerate it among our leaders, among our politicians, among the politically exposed persons. What happened in the past 5 or 7 years did damage our country. The fact that money was in the hands of cadres, the fact that people were doing shoddy jobs and getting paid without doing the job. They would go to Milenge, borrow money, and build that hospital that is already breaking now. First of all, it's not finished. Secondly, it's already breaking, but money has already been paid. What that means is that you have robbed the future of the people of Milenge. You have robbed the future of several other infrastructure. If infrastructure is a pinnacle of our development as a country, then good infrastructure is necessary. Not if you're madongo, because you're going to pay more at the end of the day. Every nation that has ever gotten out of its economic problems dealt with corruption. I always give you this example, China. Now, we always look at the Chinese, and of course they're in Zambia and stuff like that. But when China started being serious about corruption, it coincided with their economic development. In China, you steal on projects that are meant to benefit the wider people, they kill you. Now, that's serious because we are African and we believe in community and we believe in forgiveness. So that is harsh. I'm not suggesting that we need to take the Chinese way. But what I am trying to say is that we as the people of Zambia should be serious about it. And so because there is that fear about resources in China, they managed to control the illicit outflows of the money in their economy. And that helped to take them forward. How can we justify that in our country, in Zambia, rich as it is, blessed soil, minerals, and our children are going hungry, to bed hungry? We have no money. We are broke. And we are only 18 million. How would you explain it? Again, corruption. Let's look at this. There is this idea that people have tried to cook up, saying that it's the multinationals that actually steal from the people of Zambia. But let me give you a challenge here. Multinationals can steal from the people of Zambia. You know why? It is because politically exposed persons are at the forefront of stealing from the people of Zambia. The very mines that we say are foreign owned, in actual fact, those mines are partially owned by the Zambian government through ZCCM Investment Holdings, and ZCCM Investment Holdings sends its board members who sit on these mines. So what happens? I'll tell you what happens. Corruption. We have got to have consensus amongst all of us. People from Kasama, people from Mongo, people from Chadiza, people from Petaoke, Navena Chipata, we need to agree, as far as we are concerned as ordinary citizens, we are going to tolerate it. And once we see it, we are going to let the law take its course to punish it. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we are planting a seed that there is no one who is going to seriously fight corruption. Now, what shall we do about this here today? The complication with corruption, money laundering simply means why Rupiah. Elo nomba taukwete wino better channel kwa kushitwala. Elo nomba waya shichitalonda waya shiwasha kwa chimonike kona kadi mushaklin. So if you fine kulika project kumirenge mwaive mpia shachipatala chiria. Ero nomba mwatwala kuisa mwaya mfuayo kuchitachana ati mushiwashe impia kumirenge mwasenda mwaiva. So nomba you launder it so that they appear like it's money that is gotten from where? From legitimate business. That's what money laundering is. That's why when politically exposed persons tell you that they've gotten money from business, already it's a red flag. Now, we are not saying that politically exposed persons cannot do business. What we are saying is that if you are politically exposed, then there is a higher burden that is placed on you because you are politically exposed and you have access to more resources in the country that you can manipulate in order to personally benefit. This is done all over the world. So money laundering simply means you steal money and then you lie to the people of Zambia that you are actually a business person. And that's why it's very difficult to prove. Extremely difficult. So, the world over, na kuba sungu kunokuine, na ku China, kuma communism, kashinga ma socialist, anywhere else, the standard has been, as far as money laundering is concerned, pantu ishimira ndushari kosa. What is the best way? Is if you as law enforcement have reasonable suspicion that the money has been gotten as a result of theft and money laundering, you can attach that property or attack it, get that property, and then go to a high court judge so that the high court judge signs off. There is a procedure that is involved in that. That is what I've been proposing. Use the Anti-Money Laundering Act in Zambia. It's a model piece of legislation. In other words, the laws that govern money laundering across advanced democracies are the same, very, very similar. What they do is, if a law enforcement suspects that this money has been obtained through money laundering and theft, the government can do reasonable investigation. Bring a person who claims they own that money, ask them a few questions, and then go to the High Court to have that property forfeited to the state. It's on the books of Zambian laws. That procedure is known as civil forfeiture. It's a civil process. The burden, the standard of proof is far much diminished. It's known as on a balance of probabilities. On a balance of probabilities is what we actually, our society exists on. Balance of probabilities. More likely than not. More likely than not. Balance of probabilities. That's the standard of proof we need to do that. That is what I'm proposing. Now, I'm not saying lawlessness. What I'm saying is that there are tools before the law right now in Zambia that can be used in order to grab property that has been stolen from people of Zambia. It's known as a civil procedure. That is what I'm proposing. That's what I'm asking. Let us do that. The complication with the criminal process is this. Now, property has no constitutional rights because The Bill of Rights does not protect property, at least not currently in Zambia. So inganda ngawaibe inganda elo wakule chianda nangu chimotoka wachikule chimotoka tachakwata ensambu under the Constitution. It doesn't. It's individuals. Because the Bill of Rights is the Bill of human rights, human beings, not property. And so when you begin using the criminal process because of the Bill of Rights, first of all, when you are arresting a criminal, they have what are known as Bill of Rights. So they are innocent until proven guilty. Innocent, one. Secondly, if you're following the criminal procedure, your investigation must be meticulous and legal. When the case is before the magistrate court you violated this human being's rights. That is an issue. The way you investigate, the way you question, you're supposed to first of all warn and caution them. Okay, but everything that you are saying will be used, may be used against you in a court of law. All that is criminal procedure. The other thing is adjournments in criminal procedure. In other words, cases that start now, it's 2 to 3 years or 4 years. Several years pass. And then when you arrest a person for theft, it means then that money can only be unfrozen after the conclusion of that particular case. Now imagine, you are investing your investigators, you are investing your resources, you are investigating your cleaners, drivers. No, but my helpers now. Am I investigators, Drug Enforcement Commission? It's not just about the commissioners. It's not just about them. It's not just about the investigators. It's about the support staff as well. Their drivers, their fuel, their cars, their computers. Do they even have computers and all that? So they must do a good job. Otherwise, if they bungle up an investigation into a crime, the person who they are getting walks. They are free because they did not do a good investigation. Now, sometimes we think that the investigating officers are just corrupt or they just don't want to do it or anything like that. Sometimes it's resources. Criminal procedure is extremely expensive and it requires expertise. In PFF Yoshenda, you are hearing Mukot right now. I will just stick to the facts of what is being said. I'm not saying it's whether true or not. So Miringolungu, this is what was heard in court last week. Miringolungu is the liquidator for KCM. Then a bank is testifying Okobati, he moved money. Now, this is just a factual testimony, okay? This is not to say it happened. This is what a person is testifying in court, and we can do that as reporters. He moved money from KCM, and then he drives it to his personal account. It earns interest, then he takes the money back. Right? And then the interest, he then uses it somewhere else. Now, it all looks so he deprives KCM of that interest. Where does that money go? We don't know. What did it buy? We don't know. Who did it corrupt? We don't know. What was it used for? We don't know. Now you have to follow the transactions and everything. Just that process is complex. It's not like wasasa ngomuntu at nakuibire chivata. Because now in Shibomuntu, nakuibire chivata, it's easy. Because kuya senda fe chivata at judge, or you ali njibire chivata. Ati chivata chiri kuisa teach. Oh, charisha na nalimu mona with my own eyes, areibe chivata. It's very easy for judges to convict, right? Now, moving money like that, it's not easy. It requires a lot of expertise. So sometimes we think, why isn't SEC or DEC doing? But it's expensive. It's complex. Supposing the money goes out of Zambia and then it comes out through a different channel. You've got to engage those other people in the other jurisdictions. How did the money move? Turkey, the same thing. They bought a building in Turkey and then the money was wired back into Zambia. Helicopters, it's the same thing. So this is a pattern of very complex financial crimes. It's very difficult. And so what is the best thing to do? In my opinion, the criminal process requires kanongamuli extremely sure. Like I gave in the example ya chibata. Umuntu akwibire chibata. Very easy. No, but what I'm saying is that is a very complex process. Now, you only invest your resources where you are very sure kovatapa mukachita convict. So instead of doing that, take the simpler process, ya money laundering, and grab their property. That's what I'm saying. It means then that it will send a message to everyone who kovatinga wahaive into Mozambia tawagafisunge bakesa kupoka. Hello, you see, it also saves Kariaka win Africa, you know. Win Africa, Kariaka mchinch, naka humility, akabufi. To save face, because we are a shame-based culture. A shame culture means turafua yokusebulula abantu ensoni. So kamupokeni fintu ngamumpoke fintu limbi kuja kwa and he continues ukulanda, no, I was innocent, shan, at least nampoke fintu mwapela abantu. It sends a message. Now, body criminal conviction hapo. The other thing why I don't like the criminal process, unless you are very, very sure, is if they make a mistake, mwamtwala ku magistrate court, mwapanga mistake, aba acquitted, it means nechuma chako chiri aivire chava shani, chava laundered. Simple. Because you can't go after him. You failed to prove under a very high standard. Now, for you to go back under a lower standard, ninshi na appetite abantu TVBAKWETU and stuff like that. That's why what is the solution? The solution is, as I have explained it to you, my fellow citizens. The solution is use the anti-money laundering laws. That's it. If you don't say if my buildings vale cooler, just grab them, take them to the High Court, let them come and explain to the people of Zambia where they got the money from. It's simple. Ngabalandat in business. That's why nachimievel about money laundering. That's exactly what money laundering is. Abantu bafisa mina kuisa muri business. Acknowledge the business. That's why kuno kuba sungu. It's the same law na kuno kuine kuba sungu. Ngobulo lupia walufisa mufia ka business. It's money laundering. Elo wako ipisha we maume wapangirisha ni 2 million in a month. Acknowledge the business. Alelo ndoro ni business ya msango shan. Chapo. Jaja alolesha evere bufyu. Pantu business. Business is clear. Ne profit ule panga fya clear. Nangu watuara kuli judge. You know, because the business is a person on its own. Ama transactions ya fya clear. Panope na iko atako ka business na ine. Na inama boku kutumwa isa mukumona. Okoba ati impia shalef moko. Oh, walisa panga ka markup. Oh, okay. On this product walipanga ka markup. Why? Your hour is $350 kwacha per hour. Or $350 per hour. Oh, okay. So walichita save umuntu for 10 hours. Asa kupera 3,500. Good. Tuamona. Oh, and then you made ka profit of Shan. It's very clear. No mbange actually umuntu asa kwa fiata me businessman. Na pangire 2 million kwacha last month. Common sense again. You see, if you takuwa with magic. Takuwa. There's nothing like that. Everything is made from somewhere. So nombo mutu ngasa kwa fiati magic na pangolo pia. Mwaume. Tuwafuma kuisa. This critical questioning is not tevutu do yo nangu jealous. Awe. It's a very common question. That's why politically exposed persons have a bigger responsibility. Because you occupy a position of trust. You can't just come and wake up and tell us that you just made this money out of the business. No. If you justify it for the Patriotic Front, the UPND will do the same. And we are going to go back to the same cycle. We have issues. We may have issues with some of the happenings in the UPND. But the problem is that unless we fix where we are coming from, they also are going to do the same. That's it. That is my beef with the fight against corruption. The idea that we as a people of Zambia want to lave coffee. And no, it's a witch hunt. No, it's a shanshani. No, Vane. If you don't want the UPND to steal, hold the PF accountable. They'll see. If you don't hold the PF accountable, let me tell you, the UPND can do these things 100 times better and hide it much more effectively. Na shota kwawa. The people we are dealing with, sure, UPND. But it's like Mwambo Kuntunka. You know? Ngachakutira basesha. Tamwaka mwene nokumwana because in sapato bakula fala fish machine. Namasuti bakula fala fya mwene. Nokuchisa suspect tamwaka chisa suspect. At nafisela. Ubwafe boba PF wati ngabasesha. Chonse chipanda first of all kuishiva. One. Good miride. Nemi fuadide. Nishama daya hapo. Awe. Amadai. Kumwana fya amadai ne sapato. Waishibata hapa nabasesha. If you reach our PF, let me tell you, if the UPND were to steal from the treasury, you won't even see. At least you won't visibly see it. But you can't see visible. So that's why we as the people of Zambia, we are the ones that are to say, no, Bane. We are going to hold the PF accountable. Straight on. You know, it's because they think that they can get away with the people of Zambia. That's all. It's not because they think that the UPND is going to leave them, the government is going to leave them alone. It's because they think that you, as the people of Zambia, do not prioritize the fight against corruption. You don't care. The biggest care you can do is to vote. I think I'm vote out nishi story apwa. That's what they think. That's why they're able to come back, confuse, lie, and nokula the government. As your government so tweakate. But if you vekata, bakovat nomba government each they fin to wangu baka be acquitted. Gababa acquitted nomba baka sunge chuma baiva. No. Now to send the money laundering is very simple. Money laundering. Epela. No, it affect everyone. No, they will not even. It won't even affect everyone. Politically exposed person. Adelo ndolo lamune. Ichichu matule umfua. Ichichu mechi. Chafu mapi. The Lord has blessed me. The Lord has blessed me. Elonabu painting. And if ever paint to ingira mana, the Lord has blessed me. If yakuiba, the Lord has blessed me. If the Lord has blessed you, ale munetuebe apa ali prophet ni pesa. Ni chinshu washitishe. Pakwatu wate I prophet. Mwasango ko wata wetapare fe washitishe va ibirefi. Yeah. Anyway. We'll see how it goes. May God bless our country. Because it surely gets discouraging. It gets discouraging because there is this messaging. No, it doesn't matter. But I believe that Zambia can do better and Zambia will do better. I believe in the people of Zambia. I believe that the people of Zambia, at the end of the day, they want a better country, a united country. They want a country which is prosperous. I believe so. And because they believe in a better country, I am willing to continue having these conversations with the people of Zambia. We've got to continue having these conversations. And they're not personal. They're only personal perhaps because we know that the PF was a criminal organization. But other than that, it is bigger than the PF. It affects the UPND, and it may affect the next party to come. These are not things that are just party related. No. We are looking at the wider picture, the wider story, the Zambian story. The blessing of providence which made you and me to partake of this nation, to walk on its soil, to drink its water, to take in its air, to live together with our brothers and sisters, to believe that Zambia can do better. Mr. Mkwilimba.
Hi, Doc.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Atinalero tuwaleta.
Nalelo mwaleta ba Doc.
Corruption.
Yeah, corruption is I've just actually joined you, so I didn't get much of what you said earlier,
It's corruption.
But generally it's on corruption, yes.
It's the issue.
Yes, it's really, I'm a bit concerned because it's like, okay, yeah, we are talking about fighting corruption, but so far we are seeing little results. Okay, there's this current issue with, medical supplies, the drugs and all that.
Right.
The government has released money, but there are no medicines in hospitals. And now people are trying to take advantage of that and planning to protest countrywide. Really, I mean, even the complaint to say that suppliers are trying to, fight the government. Why shouldn't the government do something about that? The government is so powerful, there is no need to cry about a cartel that is threatening to, derail government plans. You are the government.
Right.
Like in the olden days, someone would go and the king would complain about something. But because you are the king, why should you complain? You are the king. And in this case, the government, why should you complain? You are the government. If you know that there is a cartel that is trying to frustrate the government, deal with that cartel, bypass that cartel. Simple.
Right.
Bypass that cartel and find other ways of, getting the drugs that you need in hospitals. Is that difficult?
Right.
I don't think that is difficult.
No.
It's a question of knowing what you want to do and not giving an opportunity for those who are playing politics in the health of the Zambians.
Kainge, ekuteka Mkwilimba, ekuteka echalo, nombukuteka echalo nindo. Ndeva vamuvanja fwiri ukuteka echalo nindo. Tari ukuteka echalo kuya mwasange fintu vari rufianya. Now, we are not giving excuses to the PF, you know that. Nomba kuya mwafi pasaulefe valo fianya, mwakula pwefi pia.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Exactly. Exactly. I really get surprised. That's why sometimes I complain that we are moving too slow on things that we should have addressed in the first few months of being in government. I mean, why should you be lenient about people have been in those positions because of their attachment to the previous part that was in government,
right?
And they are still loyal to those that were in government before, and that is a fact.
Yeah.
When you have a party constitution that prioritizes party cadres to hold key positions in the government.
Right.
And when you change the government, you think that things are going to change, those people that have been loyal
now
to PF are going to be loyal to you overnight?
Now, of course, Mkwilimba, we as we need to be careful here. We as TVBAKWETU are UPND leaning. We have never hidden that fact. Right. We are UPND leaning. Yes. We support the government of the day. We support we campaigned for the UPND. We have never hidden that. If we are we are shiny, we are neutral, we are not.
Yeah.
We believe in the vision of the UPND. That's why we campaigned for it, and that's why we vote. Most of the people here voted for it.
Yes.
Nomba ngachakutira kudi ubwafya ku Ministry of Health. We can't take the excuses anymore. We are fed up.
No, we can't take those excuses. Definitely, we cannot take any more excuses. There's no way you can explain, a situation where government has released money and there's no improvement in the health institutions. What is going on? We can't be mourning about that.
If it means firing everyone, Minister of Health, go ahead and you are the Mulibuteko. No, but Mulibuteko kaidi. Mwambe kukula tueva yo not wish about PF niva pompwe. That fact I know. Edgar Lungu nava nabo. They were thieves who stole from the people of Zambia. That is common sense. Edgar Lungu, Edgar Chagwa Lungu nava nabo. They stole from the people of Zambia. No, but even after government releases funds under the new dawn, imitishishote mufipatala. And we still think Edgar Lungu, he's already defeated. He's not in power. New dawn. Your excuse yaku Minister of Health we are still studying the situation.
No, there's nothing to study.
Yeah.
What is there to study? You release the money.
Yeah. No.
Follow where that money is. Where is it?
There are people that are under the table frustrating the agenda, fire them. Or send them somewhere else. Send them to the Ministry of which one is the most needy ministry? Professor Kasonso. Where should we send them? From the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of what? Education?
For anyone. I think tufunye kwa gloves kumaboko. Tufunye kwa gloves kumaboko munshirei. I think I'm office boys were from Utekobos. Turefa kona pombolo kaponya. Kwati basunkanya kwa fintu because
Kasonso imumwani temwe fialo fiaba sungu,
it's awe.
Webeni mwalaya.
Lekene turandeko. Ama gloves ya fure afumapa. It's like Uteko bare bukata hostage. Kuri bakaponya bako bati nenchito shalipwa kale na usefulness yalipwa kale. Ndechita 1+1 kunova Munshya. Ndechita kakileta Uteko batali simpia. Number ama bottlenecks yalikwisa. We need people who can be able to push. If into mukati mulya mwine. Ama implementers nabena bali kwata talent ya ifyo fine. Kuikata fechintu afichita. We need doers, not talkers.
Aikata achita.
Aikate chintu achita. Ngawali chali lisimpia. Palapo shilimpia alore shapo. Shikere pesa. Apo shifuresha ni pesa. Uikatile pale shindama ni nani? Mu industry ya miti wa Munshya. Ilio nafumine kunieki. Nishina chitile ka first course ka college Muzambia. Kuzika. Kanateki. The first job wampe bena doctor meet Pandora Central Hospital. So tsungire ko muti. Icho banjingilisha ile nchito. Abalumendo baliko bale iba fyo muti. Nero na ingire kulia na lisa sanga kate oyabale vobola fyo muti.
Enchito ya
yes, and if yaba failure industry ya muti. Yali bafe organize kwati mafias.
The minister, Honorable Sylvia Masewa, and I think it's a very hard position she's in. But because in an ingestion, okubomfia common sense.
Yakana.
Release imititakuli. Nishi balero abantu bafwe first kwa bule miti.
Efondera ndafya kwa bati. Abantu bafire bakonka the trail of the money. Indala mapo shimine ni pesa. Umuti apoka ni no kuingira ni pesa. because ngabaleko nkama channels ya kubosha ya kuiba filia ichimi tishale fuma patia ishisa mu channels yale mufire mwa uchita walk through abalunga mimulya so muti uyo weekend woko waingira okuchinjana ma channels aba government balepoka ko muti
Number, what is so difficult? What is so difficult? Mushikani chashupa shani. Ngamulefu kushitomuti. Tati kuya fi mwa shitomuti mwashita. I don't know. Wonkwiremba. Tati ngolefu omuti. Tati kuya fi waya shitomuti.
Exactly. You know, you have the money.
627 million. Tati kuya fi waya shitomuti te.
You have the money. You know, there are various suppliers. Why should you be held hostage by a cartel of suppliers who want to bring your government down?
Cartel of suppliers, Tefio. Maybe ever shinkiri otushila. So umufiri mwapita abalunga miumo. So that twachinja ma suppliers and twachinja na ma sources yoko tulepo komuti.
This cartel they are talking about, you mean it can be so powerful, you know, to paralyze the government?
No, not paralyze the government, but just delay, because ama sources ya oko Zambia twali bokute mu kushitako ifi abachipi. So tulio tushira tonse tulebali katana. Bali shwana apo bali shanya. So if the government released money and the money was going to go into those same parts, kuti bali shitano kushitaka lero bali tsafe delay. Bali fo bali shanya mo muri amwine. Nomba takuli abali ediamo. So muti ita ulefika because takuli abali ediamo.
So if we're as supporters of the UPND, we are not enemies. We are supporters of. We are clear. Nindondororo. But if we don't beat around the bush and neutrality, no. If we are supporters of the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema, we are asking the Ministry of Health. We are fed up with excuses. We are fed up with this thing of blaming Shanyuko Namkwato Rupiah. Imit. We know that the previous government was a government of thieves. They stole. Now, the money has been released. We know that Mudin Kongole Shingi, but please deliver medicine Kuchawama, deliver medicine at Chawama Market, deliver medicine at Chawama Clinic in Chwempala, deliver medicine at Chwempala Clinic, deliver medicine at Milenge District Hospital, deliver medicine Gonse. Tuapapa tabantu balafwa. Ba PFQ da bantu with honeybee. Number 9 in action. Charabajan. It's pretty terrible. Anyway, we need to move on from this. I hope a minister for Nama PS. Anyway, Limbi, we need to talk to the PS. Vama Gwende na Kasoka. We need you here so that muke selondo rera kwa veka la chalo.
I think so. But you invite Bakalan.
Yeah. Otherwise, if we fit down, yo.
Yeah, look at you.
If you're feeling to Akan. Anyway. We are on the right track. Nombalelo, kwa Chivakoka interview. Kamo, and the interview was that His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu said that there is a lot of hypocrisy in the manner things are going. I'm not disappointed. I'm not surprised. Papa.
But with me, I'm actually surprised.
You're surprised?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Bakasos.
Balungu babeta kuchiriro bakwata kunefya kulanda lefya kwatfira pasamenshi. Because balungu bale muse banya kuli ifo fwe bana babo. So bafire bale talala fe parikano kashita. Balungu ngachakwa dina bakwata nefya kulanda. Bachibeta fe kuchiro mchinji twamuna twarife bono good health. Twachitemo fira fin twachona kana bakwata kunefya kulanda efya ko bachani. Balungu beba shabadumbushe chalo mukongole fya ko bati. Ichalo chirafira no kupema nga muntu nga alikuwa ICU. Balungu na wakwata ponifia kulanda. Pali Zambia yesu.
But there is hypocrisy. Balungu. Kwene ine shipapire mwe. Pantu, if you it's not out of character. You see, if a person does something out of character, number this is not out of character.
Out of character.
Not in character, out of character.
Well,
he maintained his character.
Imagine.
The leopard doesn't change his stripes. It hasn't changed in the last 6 months.
No.
It just became more lethal. If more honest.
The respect was accorded, even about program, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, former commander, on the program. There is hypocrisy. If you kateka leva fukamina, over this funeral.
Ba empty shabashisha Zambia. But bachindika kweshina na nchito bagombele. Ba nchito bakwete.
Yeah.
Na bobaita isula kanwa. Awe limbita bachisukusafi. Because temwelenga tuambia kupose mfikiso. Tabari shabari tufishe mitima.
Yeah. I think if there is anything that needs to be done, we are appealing to Lungu and his minders. He shouldn't talk. He needs to go. I think ninganda yabo in my own opinion. Idia tenganda yako asunzu iyo. Ninganda yabo. Bali kwa tenganda yabo yo bashitire. So bale senda mafye bwino mulya munganda nokukolwa. Bale kolwa. Landa yo. Pantunga balanda, things will be misunderstood and it's going to be taken out of proportion. Like today's discussion shows that awe tabachinja bamo bene. Wamwero wamwasumina?
He should keep talking. I think he should keep talking. The more he talks, we're reminded, because some people are still very under illusions that this was the best president, he should be the father of the nation. So I feel like he should keep talking, and those minders should keep behaving as silly as they behaved, because I think that they nearly pushed Franklin Tembo Jr. off track. So they should just keep behaving the way they're behaving, because we need those reminders. People forget very easily, so we need those reminders in place. And he wasn't. A lot of people are saying he's been taken out of context. He wasn't taken out of context. I think he's very two-faced, and he can't talk about dialogue now, 6 months down the line. What dialogue? It was quite insensitive, very insulting, and that he can even point to hypocrisy. I mean, he said he was going to have HH arrested, and then if he got into power, and then now he comes in and says hypocrisy. Which hypocrisy is existing apart from his own? Unless you're saying that he had a wow moment in that funeral and he thinks he was a hypocrite. We'll be okay. If he's included himself in, I think we'll be fine. But when he said the way it was said, I just felt like he's just insulting us.
Yeah. The Patriotic Front is
the vagueness of the statement as well is what surprises me. You can't say there's hypocrisy. People are they are talking about good things, but they are not doing those good things. I wish you would have been more explicit and mention those things that people are saying, which they are not doing. Because without explaining that, some of us will end up concluding, okay, if somebody stole or is a suspect and the law is after them, that's not a bad thing. The law should be after them if they are suspects. So I wish you could have come out, but I think those are the things that I think he's referring to, and the bad things are those that where the law is following those that are suspected to have stolen something. As far as it's concerned, those are bad things. And if the government does that, then they are doing bad things. No, they are not. They are simply, they are suspects, and the law is trying to follow those suspects. Simple. There's nothing bad about that.
Yeah, and I think the issue is that obviously we as the people of Zambia, and that's what the people of Zambia need to know, that it is you. Zambia bantu. Noko bafunyapo mlandu wako bati ubungo.
Namba Munshya nangu mulefu wa dialogue. Ili mwaika tempupu. Ero mwaifunyapo na pabuteko. Ero mwaya kwata na dialogue. Na mwala kwata na dialogue nchi.
Ati yondekeni, I'm a father of the nation. Mwinji kata iyo.
No.
Yeah, that's the other vagueness. If you are talking about dialogue,
I think father of the nation to allow vika po bankwirimba ngatibaka na pala pera ini nala penta na
this is a serious matter.
Yeah. Anyway, we
bali landa ba bishop Buteresfo fundu bali landa kale. Bishop said the father of the nation is God.
That was beautiful.
Imagine. Now, in brief, there is the issue about ZESCO motor vehicles, and honestly, I'm really in the middle. Very rarely do I go in the middle of positions. I go one position. The reason is I see why ZESCO would want to purchase new vehicles. I see the reason. The new and in my opinion, a Land Cruiser is really not that it's a luxurious vehicle. I think it's a utility van. A Land Cruiser is a utility vehicle, and we need ZESCO managers or ZESCO directors to have very reliable transport, in my opinion. However, I see why some people are annoyed, because they think that they shouldn't have bought those vehicles. They should have made electricity cheaper. The question is when is the best time for them to have usable vehicles? So that is my own reservations, and I know each one of you might have your own opinions about it. Yeah.
But that's assuming that they found no vehicles there. I think that there are new vehicles that were bought during elections. Some of them very expensive vehicles. What has happened to those vehicles?
Not even.
And they can't follow them. They can't follow up the thieves
but it will take time. Again, when somebody steals and then you begin either the recovery process, it will take time. And in the meantime, ZESCO cannot keep waiting for these investigations to conclude.
Yeah.
So the best thing is they get reliable vehicles, because there is a huge mess in ZESCO. Let me just give an example. We have a power generating force in Milenge, Mombotuta. We can begin generating electricity in Mombotuta. You can't get to Mombotuta with a low vehicle.
Yeah, but Musha, I mean, we don't know the facts about the use of those vehicles. Were they meant for directors? And if they are meant for directors, really, do they need to have that kind of vehicle? Because you can structure it in such a way that you have field vehicles that are high enough to be able to visit all those areas. But if you are talking about utility vehicles for directors within Lusaka or whatever, you don't need those vehicles. You can do with other types of vehicles that are cheaper.
But why should this group of bosses have to suffer for the crimes of the others? That's my.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I feel like we're punishing this group of bosses for the old happenings of the old, the PF placed bosses. I mean, every position has incentives, and you're expecting your incentives. I mean, being the boss of ZESCO is not being a boss of something like a Kandemba. It's a big post. If he deserves his V8 or whatever car, then he deserves the car. If the cars were stolen, the ones that they were supposed to maybe they've gone and they're stolen, that needs to be chased after. We can't be expecting them as bosses to be going around in their small cars or whatever. So they're entitled to those incentives as employees of ZESCO.
Yes,
Right.
Land Cruisers, ma 4-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive, iya ku Japan, ipangwa with an African terrain in mind. Ira chayama dig out na muitipa. Na mumpiri irapita. Na mutushirotu wakokai irapita. Ya lungisha malaiti. Iyo taifuri okolore wapokwati ni laki jale. Awe. If it's an operational tool and a necessity, ni ZESCO wafure wakwata area tools so that they can drive and go to anywhere where they need to go. Hii propensity tu wakwata kuzambi okwebati yo ZESCO bafure babombesha pakwebati mutengo wa malaiti wachipako. There's another alternative view we can have. The alternative view is, let's raise the productive capacity of the population so that the incomes of the people are raised to the extent enough that they are not complaining about ZESCO. I think that is the view that can develop the country, because that way we are investing in effort.
Okay, we have a factual.
Yes, we're investing in effort that is allowing people to work harder and appropriate more opportunities that gives them capacity. Yeah,
okay.
I think what I was saying really is not to say that they should be punished. What we're saying is, can they use other types of vehicles for those positions that are in the cities? There is no reason why a director of finance or, who is always in Osaka, should have such a huge vehicle that, utility vehicles, yes, if it's for the field, as I said, if it's for using to go to the field, yes, let them have those vehicles. But when you look at, those positions that are, those vehicles are bought for those positions, most of those are not field people. These are people who are in offices.
Okay, no. Okay, I think that's a huge to our audience. What do you think about ZESCO vehicles? I think for me, having reliable vehicles, particularly for an enterprise like ZESCO, is a necessity. It is a necessity. One last thing is to have our operations, our directors, Bajomba, because of unreliable vehicles and the cost. If we say that we keep using old vehicles, they're unreliable, they might break down, and then the other alternative is leasing. Ngabaleya kumirenge mwabapera motoke is much more reliable. Mwaya ashima from the mushrooming car dealers.
Yeah,
that won't reflect. Definitely, there will be no paper advertising such a service, and we are going to pay far much more money than getting reliable vehicles.
I just think we're not dealing with the problem at ZESCO. I think we are constantly dealing with the subsidiary results of all the poor management of ZESCO, and then sometimes we go and pick. Because I don't think this is an issue. It shouldn't even have been an issue. The issue that we need to deal with are the independent power producers that sell power to ZESCO at these exorbitant prices. Those are the people that cause the losses. But then we are now blaming the new people that we've employed to manage this company. So we say, all right, manage this company, do your best. And then we begin to mistreat them and don't give them the incentives they deserve.
Yeah.
I'm a little torn about that. They're not to blame. We're blaming them for... And they're not politicians, you see. So they don't hold any duty of care to accept below their standards.
Yeah, because ZESCO is a company actually.
Yes.
Vamwelo. Abashama like ZESCO.
Yes, and there's some independent companies that equally sell these.
Yes, Abashama like ZESCO. The proportion of electricity that is sold to ZESCO by those independent is very small. That is the area actually we need to expand a lot more so that ZESCO can supply even electricity at a cheaper price. It's a very small proportion and cannot account for losses to ZESCO.
Well,
the losses yaba ZESCO. Yeah, losses yaba ZESCO. Yafuma mubuteko. Ukuya mukufokotola mo mundala mashipanga ba ZESCO. Increasing ZESCO's expenses by imposing the state machinery expenses on the utility company that is owned by the government.
We go back to the same thing, Dr. Kasonso.
Yes.
ZESCO ordered these vehicles. One Land Cruiser L300 VX, is it VX? And about 6 Prados. And that contract has been cancelled so far. That's where the debate is. I know we have a wider debate as far as ZESCO is concerned. Well, all I'm saying is, from my own perspective, is it may be justifiable.
ZESCO baleshta ama luxury vehicles or baleshta ama utility vehicles ama Land Cruisers ayama vanze yako mfema engineers in the field ayengi or baleshta ama directors. If you
don't know, but it appears like those Prados should be for directors.
Well, you know, they can't be spending money on those type of things. They have many other things to spend money on. They can get more economical vehicles. My directors, Prado 6, how much would that cost? That cost would not even push a dent in the expenses of ZESCO. Naturally, in a Mioto 300 Land Cruisers, aya kuingira mu fields abantu ke mukikate fintu my equipment ama cables amashani ukutari connect fintu ama lighting yasha ukuya mu terrains mu pusana vehicles for the fields, not vehicles for the luxury of a loss-making enterprise. No.
Okay. No. So you don't support Prados for ZESCO management?
Prado Ngayari 6, I don't have qualms about it. You can't save money from 6 Prados. Those are just small cars. But in Gamla 300 Prados, then I have a problem.
Yeah, no. The contract, the contract is about for 10. Is it 9 or 10 vehicles for management? They advertise it in the newspaper, and there was an uproar, and ZESCO has put it.
10 vehicles.
Huh?
10 vehicles. Isha kwendera utility vehicles for management.
Yeah.
Not utility vehicles.
10 cheaper. You can't save money on those 10 vehicles. Managers are amenable to those type of things. It's very stressful to be managing a large corporation that the nation is depending on. You can't, Nelson Mandela used to say, you can't solve a national problem by sacrificing a politician's salary. I would say in this case, you cannot solve the problems of ZESCO on sacrificing fringe benefits of a manager.
Yeah. So it's about 10 vehicles. Is it 10 or about 10 vehicles? One for the one which is top-notch Land Cruiser, and is it 6 or 7 Prados? Apo pene epabukire nenkondo ati yoshi.
Awe ni poverty tuletwala ku ZESCO balekere n'imyoto kesho.
Anyway,
I think the list, actually there are more than 10. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, about 25.
Yeah, 25 vehicles. Most likely for top management.
Even 25, 12, it's nothing for a company that is even here on the dance.
Yeah.
That's nothing. You can't solve ZESCO problems on that kind of money. That's chunk change.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like we're just blaming them for
You see,
people's
that's the
problems.
problem now. I think the new dawn, there is some paralysis. There could be some paralysis because kupangama decisions. There is all these things from Patriotic Front members, from Bakawalala. So everyone in all these parastatals, they'll be reluctant now to make movements so that, because what we want is for these parastatals to be working. The Ministry of Health, they can't do anything because there will be confusion, Shanshani. I don't know. But 25 vehicles for ZESCO, I have no issues with that.
Now when I join you to me 25 because we only under to engage from showroom kuno ayasende walalipira ko pano ne futa tufaya kwa next ya ZESCO the team panic managers. And I don't
know, does ZESCO pay duty? Do they pay duties on their vehicles?
Bamuelo, that's okay.
I have no idea.
Is ZESCO zero rated?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Because the government doesn't pay. Does that benefit? Is ZESCO a beneficiary of that? I know it's a tax collecting entity. They do collect tax for ZRA, but I'm not sure whether their own vehicles are tax free because vehicles expensive in Zambia is the duty.
I don't think they should be because ZESCO Navo, they are taxed by ZRA.
Yeah. If that is the case, then it's a business decision that is done in order to reorganize it. You know, these are some of the things that we need to look at. Somebody's saying, would you have done the same if it was PF that did it? No, PF, please, don't bring thieves into our civil conversations. If you mentioned PF, I'm going to remind you of the theft. In fact, under PF, they were not even going to be advertised like this. They were just going to they would have bought one cruiser at 1 million. Please don't compare the rot that the PF did with honest advertising of 25 vehicles for ZESCO. They're not even the same. If we begin thinking that if you into Fimofine, we will run into problems. Anyway, what makes vehicles expensive in Zambia is duty. 250,000 Land Cruiser is because of duty. That's it, which is like 100%. Zambia should look into this. A vehicle costing 50,000 here in Okokwe na Mulibaka so Zambia is 100,000.
Yeah.
You know why?
I was afraid. Ekabi pokuti mwefunya motoka kuno mukweleke pali chishipe ele pakuingira motoka na insurance ele pakuti ingire muchalo na bazedara bakakireta nakalusamushi. There is a way in which some of the funds must be commuted, but it's already chipange mpia ngamwachisa commute ama duties ya ifyo.
Okay, anyway, you do your own analysis, but government itself buys a lot of these vehicles duty free, and in fact, some of the top managers in government are entitled to vehicles at duty free, and so it's a huge debate that we must continue having. But if we are to solve ZESCO problems, ZESCO has huge problems. Yeah, and I wouldn't fault the ZESCO board for having wanted to buy those 25 vehicles. Imyotoka shimbisho vashitire during elections valiva kuli ba PF valiva. They bought a lot of vehicles. They used them for campaigns. Elo nomba qualify tu wa donkela.
Sangwapo.
Pali sangwapo. So imyotoka shonse sha ZESCO shari luba inoshita. The police are now following up among these thieves to recover them, but I wouldn't think that they were going to be recovered and sent back for management to begin using. Anyway, Black Mountain, there is a battle there at Black Mountain. I'm told there are two categories of pickers there: those who pick Naminwe and machine pickers. So at Apopena, but I think the government has intervened. The Honorable Minister of Mines actually saying that it's the work of the opposition again, we are not going to accept such excuses.
Yeah. Fed up. Some of these excuses are now just becoming childish.
Yeah. At you, it's the opposition. No, Vane. Nam solve a huge problem. You've given the Black Mountain to the youths. How you are going to structure it. That's all. It's a small problem. Just bring the people together and see how you can agree. That's it. Ebuteka. Not the onset yom kwa iniva PF balenga. Eba PF bakulalenga, but just sit down with the youths, find a way out, and deal with it. We understand that they've made progress in that way. Yeah.
Mamusha, Black Mountain, teitwa lese fiati pera ama district yonse bakulalima mu bonse balefunya mu ndandashe baleshe mu Chinese.
Nomba kange nika order kalishupa.
Oh.
Kange charife. So mwapange fina ma cooperatives. So i cooperative na idea. Elo nomba tuba iche, you know, tuma youths. Tuwalea kwa fina tuwalonga tuwaya mukushitisha. Nomba popena poepa shiri wino, order wino. So today stafika abu ukoluchelo kaya mukulima.
So na mumonefu na akanyisha ma cooperative. Pafi pusho fiaba mwero. Ba Patrick. Achile pa ma cooperative nje. Ma cooperative takuwa bomwine. Frankano. Ebwafia. Bale kene, babe ma limited companies. So, pale
bomwine. Nombo bwafia bako bati, yo style of bakasonso. Bwafia bako bati, it is going to empower one person. If you are registered come PF, because on PF, you don't say the Black Mountain only belonged to 2 families.
You're limited company. We create members of our cooperative. Emma members of our company. Emma owners. So, chilamuntu bottom line yakwe. The first bottom line yakwe. Ni dividend. Second bottom line yakwe. Ni chitu wale mbamuli ya company. Not cooperative. Cooperative fiabo ananyina. Namulika unda tafiabo mbele. No mufundo wa level lafye. Mufundo na bakano kubikana mumbali ya mataba because fions fiabo analale belongs to everybody. Tapari sense of ownership no win tapari. Mufiru mwachita attach uwine kuli enterprise na mibombele ya bantu.
No, but if you have 1,000 people, how can 1,000 people be members of a corporation?
If you are
without having to publicly trade it. So EO does not solve the problem. Unless if you say that government forms a government corporation, and then employs all these youths and pays them a salary by working per Black Mountain. Because you can't have 1,000 companies, you have 1,000 owners.
And you see, I have a problem with Mr. Kasons has a problem with the cooperatives. I have a problem with the entire concept of empowerment. You can't empower an entire youth population in a nation. It never happens. That Black Mountain thing is an example of what would happen if we went for this entire empowerment thing, because it's not sustainable. You can't even do it because there's so many youth all wanting a part of that Black Mountain. And one, it's dangerous. There's poor, whatever, whether it's even organized, it's poorly organized. And the next thing, obviously, there is death.
Right.
Yeah, but you might chip your question. You can to ask if it's up to ask one with him. But I'm going to one pin. Their empowerment should be a stake in the company, my shares, apart from market stock over. So you combine both partly employment and part of it win shareholding.
Okay.
Not cooperative.
Okay. I think we'll talk more about it.
Okay.
Good touch. We are almost running out of time here. Wonkwirimba.
Yeah, I think I don't think that we can throw away completely the concept of the cooperative. I think it depends on how it is structured. Because if the members of the cooperative have shares, and then they are doing a business, whatever business it is. The profits that they make, the dividends that they make, are divided according to the shares that the members hold. I think those are the types of cooperatives that are being promoted in Zambia. People are going to have shares in a cooperative.
All right. Thank you very much. This has been a presentation of TVBAKWETU. Elias Munshya here. Don't forget to send us stars. Don't forget to subscribe and become a member of TVBAKWETU and the Elias Munshya pages. Tomorrow, we'll be back with Mr. Nkwilimba's conversation with constituency conversations tomorrow. Sunday, we have the Linda Banks show. And on Monday, we have Professor Jones Kasonso, one-on-one with Professor Jones Kasonso on Monday. So we have a lot of good things lined up for you. Good night. God bless you, and God bless our beautiful country. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.